Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of the Wagon Wheel of Wisdom. Behind me as usual, the beautiful wagon wheel and hopefully some wisdom up here still. I am your host Kevin. I wanted to do a quick video on the hypothetical aspect of your DM reaching out to you and maybe initiating a meet and greet of some sort, because all people are at different levels of this journey, and I suppose in a way in preparation for the amazing moment, if they do come back into your life, I thought I would bring up 5 key points to perhaps prepare you, get in the mindset, maybe not to loop with it, but just to kind of prepare your mind in case you were to meet up again. The first one is the initial contact phase. Maybe it's a text, maybe it's a phone call, is to just listen. I think saying less is more at this point in time. Just hear them out, no judgment. No bringing up the past, no accusatory remarks. Just actually be, content with the fact that they've reached out to you, and just sort of let the energy find a nice harmonious balance with that. Don't get too excited. Don't get pushy. I realize, if you are excited to hear from him, it's going to be hard to maintain that, but some deep breaths would work magical in that moment. And again, just kind of sit back and just listen and see where they lead the conversation to. The next point is building a relationship or building strong relationships. And I realize that as number 2 might seem like it's jumping the gun a little bit, but hear me out on this. Again, with the just sitting back and listening, I believe, just even from a fundamental, call it team building or leadership role, listening to somebody's concerns objectively without judgment it really goes unsaid as to how powerful that is. Most often than not, people just want to tell you their story and just be heard. And I think as a starting point, because again, we're not going back to the old relationship here at all. This is starting over on square one. And instead of a relationship that was built on a foundation of sand earlier, this one is going to be built on a much more solid structure. And that's what I mean by building the relationship. I'm not talking about getting into a relationship at any point in time yet. Forget that. Out of the question. This is just about square one, like it's date number 1. So be smart with that, okay? The next one is practicing discipline. Thinking before responding. And again, this is where that breath work is really going to be important. Your demeanor is going to carry a lot of weight in this. And again, I'm going to lean on this, saying less is more in these situations. And I'm going to use mine as an example. If your DM is anything like mine, they like to talk. And you just kind of smile, nod, but make sure you're listening, okay? But practice the discipline of not responding, especially if they want to be open about things that might, in a way, trigger you. This is not the time for it. We listen, right? And we're coming from a place of a much different place, because we're coming from a place of love and compassion and forgiveness. Most important, okay? The next thing we're going to talk about is strike a balance. And I wrote a little bit here, so I'm going to be looking down. There's no doubt about it that we are emotional beings. And if we want to stress on how emotional things really are, this journey, I don't need to tell you guys, emotional roller coaster though. So we don't want to be too extreme, obviously, but we also don't want to be too passive either. So strike a balance of somewhere in the middle. If you're too extreme and too pushy, you're talking to a person that is a runner, a known runner, and I'm going to be willing to bet they're going to feel that pushy energy and gone. Just an assumption, I could be wrong, but I'm going to go with my gut on that and thinking that is probably accurate to some degree. But we also don't want to be so passive that we're giving off this, I don't really give a crap vibe. I don't think you want to do that either. There's a difference between remaining indifferent versus being somebody that's acting like they don't care. And believe me, if you're in a state of love, forgiveness, peace, balance, you're going to sit there and be attentive and listen to them and hear them out, no matter how triggering or how tough or how, challenging the conversation can be. And it might be, but that's to me the point. It's a testing ground. It is an energetic jousting match at this moment in time, and it's probably a test to see where the egos sit. You know, the divine works in funny ways like that, and yeah, it could be a challenge. So strike a good balance. You know, not too much over this way, not too much over this way, just right in the middle. And I realize that's overly simplistic and kind of cheesy, but you get my drift. Lastly, and this is only if it comes up, but can still make this work even if it doesn't happen on the first time you meet, or second time you meet, or third time you meet. There might come into question at some point in time about the past. Now, I've stressed about forgiveness and all of that, but what I haven't hit a lot on is I want you, and this includes myself too, to take full ownership of the stuff that you did or I did without blaming them for any of it. I have so many things that I need to own. The nasty things I said to her when she wanted to be separate. So much to own with that. I chewed her up one side and down the other, you guys. I just have to admit it. I have to admit it. A first-class jackass. That's something I have to own. She didn't force me to react that way. Nobody makes you anything. Oh, that person pissed me off. No, they didn't. You made a conscious choice to be mad at that moment in time. Just like I made a conscious choice to be a complete jerk to her when she didn't deserve it. I have to remember now, especially looking back, that this person is wounded just like I am, and would I want some a-hole chewing me up one side and down the other in a situation where I'm already hurt as it is, because, you know, they may not have acted like it. They might have been cold in the process, but they're still losing somebody. And somebody that they had a deep connection with. You know it hurts. I know it hurts. And it, you know, I still think about the things I said to her. I'm working through that process of forgiving myself, but obviously not forgetting it because it's a specific moment in time. And I guarantee you she is going to remember it. And that is where the forgiveness part, I hope, is implemented into her. But if it's brought up, and I'm assuming it's going to be, especially in my situation, I have to take full ownership of it and absolutely in no way, shape, or form blame her for it. It's not her fault. I chose to be that way in that moment. So these 5 points: listen, start to build a strong relationship, practice the discipline, thinking before you respond, strike a balance, okay? Don't go too extreme, don't go too passive where you're not listening. Strike that balance. And by God, take ownership of the stuff you've done and find out how relieving it is to admit the truth of what you did. This is the Wagon Wheel of Wisdom. It's Kevin. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. I love you guys.